I never thought I'd find myself in this situation. We were just a regular couple, living in suburban Ohio, navigating life together. I'm Mike, 34, and my wife, Sarah, 32, was the love of my life. At least that's what I thought. We had been married for 7 years and built a life together that many would envy. We had just successfully launched a crowdfunding campaign to get our startup off the ground. It felt like we had finally turned a corner. Sarah was involved in the campaign, and I believed we were in sync, pushing towards a common goal. But after that campaign succeeded, things began to shift. I noticed subtle changes in her behavior. At first, I brushed them off as stress from our newfound business venture. She seemed to be working late more often, but her excuses sounded plausible: meetings with potential investors, late-night brainstorming sessions, networking events. I tried to support her, believing we were both in this together. But in the pit of my stomach, there was an uneasy feeling that something wasn't right. Then came the night that shattered everything. I had been at home, working on some back-end coding for our project, when Sarah texted me that she'd be late again. I was frustrated but tried to remain understanding. I decided to surprise her by cooking dinner. As I was preparing everything, I heard the door open. I assumed it was her, but when I turned around, there she was, sprawled on the couch in her work clothes, looking disheveled with a scent of cheap cologne wafting off her. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I noticed her phone on the kitchen counter. It lit up with a message that stopped my heart. "Can't wait to see you tonight, I need you." I recognized the name as Mark, a guy from her university days who had popped back into her life after the campaign. My mind raced. I'd seen them chatting online during the last few months, but I thought they were just catching up. Now it felt like the universe was mocking me. I confronted her right then and there. "What's going on, Sarah? Who's Mark?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but the anger simmered just below the surface. She looked caught off guard at first, her eyes wide and panicked. "What are you talking about?" She stammered. "Your phone just lit up with a text from him. Don't lie to me," I fired back. The tension in the room was palpable. She immediately shifted into damage control mode. "Oh, come on, Mike, it's nothing. You're being ridiculous. Mark and I are just friends. You know how he can be. He always flirts." Her tone was defensive, that bitchy edge creeping in. She tried to wave it off, but I wasn't buying it. My gut was screaming, and I needed the truth. "I don't want to hear your excuses, Sarah. When you start lying to me, that's when we have a problem." I felt like I was losing my grip, the emotional weight of betrayal crashing over me. I demanded to see her messages, but she brushed me off, saying it was all harmless. I felt like I was in a bad dream that I couldn't wake up from. That night was just the beginning. I barely slept, my mind racing with thoughts of betrayal. I couldn't shake the feeling that everything I believed about our life together was built on a lie. I had trusted her completely, and now I was left with a reality I never wanted to face. My heart thudded heavily in my chest, and I couldn't help but wonder what this meant for our marriage. The days that followed were a blur. I tried to act normal, but every time Sarah walked into the room, I felt anger bubbling beneath the surface. I wanted to confront her again, but I also knew that I needed to keep my composure. If I was going to figure this out, I needed to play it cool. I had to gather evidence to find out just how deep this betrayal ran. I couldn't let her lie to me without consequences. My feelings were a whirlwind: shock, anger, confusion, sadness. I loved her, but I was furious at the same time. How could she do this to us? I felt betrayed, like all our dreams had been built on quicksand, and now they were sinking. My mind raced as I tried to plan my next move. I knew I had to find a way to get revenge. I wasn't just going to sit back and let her walk all over me. All I needed was a plan, and I was going to make sure it was one she wouldn't see coming. After that night of confrontation, I found myself consumed by thoughts of Sarah's betrayal. I struggled to focus on work, and every little thing she did annoyed me. No matter how hard I tried to suppress it, the anger simmered just below the surface. I began to notice the smallest details: the way she laughed a little too enthusiastically at her phone, the secretive glances she'd cast as if she was waiting for something. I kept my distance, all while plotting my next move. I decided I needed to gather concrete evidence about Sarah and Mark's affair. I started by snooping around her things. It felt wrong, but the need to know the truth outweighed my moral compass. I went through her purse, her bags, and even her laptop. Most of the time I came up short, but that didn't deter me. I had to find something, anything, that would confirm what I already suspected. One evening, while she was out with friends, probably with Mark, I finally stumbled upon the jackpot. I was in our home office, searching for anything that might give me insight into her secretive behavior when I opened her laptop, which she had left unattended. I navigated to her social media. My heart raced as I scrolled through her messages. There it was, dozens of flirty exchanges with Mark. Each message grew more explicit and my stomach churned with disgust and betrayal. They made plans to meet. They talked about how much they missed each other, and they even planned a trip together, just the two of them. It felt like a punch to the gut. All the anger I'd bottled up erupted, and I slammed the laptop shut, my hands trembling. In that moment, something shifted inside me. I wasn't just the wronged husband anymore. I was a man with the power to take control of his life back. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time it would be different. I wouldn't just let her lie her way out. I would have the ammunition I needed to force her to face the truth. The next day, I was on edge. I spent the entire time plotting how to confront her. I thought about how my friends would react if they knew what was happening. Would they support me? Would they tell me to give her another chance? I knew deep down that I couldn't let this go unpunished. I needed to set a precedent to show her that infidelity would not go unchallenged. That evening, I decided to confront her again. I knew she would be home late, but I wanted to catch her off guard. As she walked through the door, I was waiting in the living room, lit only by the dim light of a single lamp. I watched as she froze, her eyes wide when she saw me sitting there. "Mike, you're home early." She feigned surprise, but I could see the guilt etched on her face. "Yeah, I wanted to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I pulled out my phone and opened the messages. "What's this?" I showed her the screenshots of her conversations with Mark. "Care to explain?" Her face went pale as she glanced at the screen, the color draining from her cheeks. Mike, it's not what you think," she stammered, her voice rising in pitch. "Not what I think," I interrupted, anger bubbling over. "You're talking about how much you miss him, planning trips together. What exactly am I supposed to think?" "Sarah, that you're just friends. This isn't some innocent catching-up conversation." She tried to backpedal and make excuses, her usual charm fading into desperation. "It was just a flirty conversation. I never meant for it to go anywhere. You know how I get when I drink. It was just harmless fun. You can't be serious about this, can you?" I shook my head in disbelief. "Harmless? You're sleeping with him. This is beyond anything I can even comprehend right now. I can't believe you do this to us." Her demeanor shifted as she scrambled for an explanation, weaving a web of lies that I was no longer willing to entertain. "You've been so busy with the startup, Mike. I felt neglected. I just needed someone to talk to." She threw her hands up in a dramatic gesture as if that could absolve her. "I'm busy because I'm trying to build a future for us. And then you go off and betray me. That's your excuse." I barked back, the betrayal stinging like salt on an open wound. The anger that had been building inside me finally broke free. I couldn't stand listening to her excuses any longer, the sweet lies that had become her default mode. I felt like a fool for ever believing in her, for trusting her with my heart. The emotional toll of this confrontation was staggering, but it was also liberating. I realized that it was time to take control of my life. "Sarah, you've crossed a line that can't be uncrossed," I said, my voice steady but filled with pain. "I don't think I can ever look at you the same way again." Her eyes filled with tears, but I felt no sympathy. "Please, Mike, don't do this," she pleaded, but I was already done. Over the next few days, my mind was a tempest of emotions. I felt betrayed, furious, and deeply sad. I had loved this woman with everything I had, and now I was left picking up the pieces of my broken heart. I started thinking about my next steps. I knew that I couldn't stay married to someone who had betrayed me so deeply. But I also felt a strong urge for revenge. I wanted her to know that she couldn't just walk all over me without facing the consequences. In the midst of this turmoil, I decided to launch a new startup, one that she wouldn't be invited to invest in or be a part of. It would be my way of proving that I could thrive without her. I needed to show her that innovation could flourish without betrayal. The fire of revenge ignited within me. I would take my pain and turn it into something powerful, something that would remind her of what she gave up. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, and I was ready to take the leap. The days turned into weeks, and the aftermath of my confrontation with Sarah left me emotionally drained. Every time I saw her, I was reminded of the betrayal. She played the victim, trying to weave her way back into my heart, but every time she opened her mouth, I was flooded with memories of her lies. I couldn't trust her anymore, and that realization made me feel even more isolated. I spent countless nights awake, brainstorming ideas for my new startup. I wanted to create something that would not only succeed, but also serve as a reminder to Sarah of what she had lost. I had always been passionate about technology and innovation, and now I was determined to channel my anger into something productive. I began researching market trends, testing ideas, and building a business plan from the ground up. As I immersed myself in this new venture, I felt a sense of liberation. I was taking control of my life. I started networking with other entrepreneurs, attending tech meetups, and pitching my ideas to anyone who would listen. It felt good to be out in the world again, surrounded by people who shared my drive and ambition. I was no longer the man who had been sitting on the sidelines, letting Sarah dictate the terms of our relationship. I was reclaiming my identity. During this time, Sarah continued to reach out to me. At first, I was cold and distant, but gradually, I allowed her to express her remorse. She would often apologize, promising to change and to be the wife I deserved. She tried to woo me back with memories of our happier times, but it felt hollow. I was already moving on. I couldn't let her charm and manipulation pull me back into the cycle of deceit. The resentment I felt towards her was just too strong. In those moments of weakness, when I almost considered giving her another chance, I reminded myself of the text messages, the lies, and the betrayal. I kept my focus on developing my startup. I even began to draw inspiration from my experiences, companies that rose from the ashes of betrayal, entrepreneurs who turned their pain into fuel for success. I was determined to be one of those stories. One night after a particularly fruitful day of brainstorming, I decided to treat myself. I poured a drink and sat down to reflect on the progress I had made. My startup was finally taking shape, and I could feel the excitement bubbling inside me. I had a few investors interested in my idea, and the possibilities felt endless. While I was lost in thought, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Mike, can we talk? I miss you. I want to make things right." I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Part of me wanted to respond, to reopen that door, but I quickly reminded myself of everything I had learned. I was not the same man who had once been so willing to overlook her lies. I typed back simply, "I don't think it's a good idea." I felt a sense of satisfaction in my decision, but also a pang of sadness. I had loved her once, and now she was just a shadow of the person she used to be in my eyes. I realized I had to give myself the space to heal, to become the person I was meant to be without her. As the weeks passed, I continued to build my startup, driven by the desire to prove to myself and to Sarah that I could succeed without her. I secured a few investors who were genuinely passionate about my vision, and I began to bring my ideas to life. The fear and anger that had once consumed me were now replaced with determination and focus. I also started to embrace the idea of personal growth. I read books on entrepreneurship, attended workshops, and even took up meditation to help clear my mind. I wanted to emerge from this storm stronger and wiser. I focused on my health, hitting the gym more often, and rediscovering my passion for life outside of the relationship that had brought me so much heartache. One of my investors, a woman named Lisa, had a keen eye for innovation and an understanding of the tech landscape. We hit it off immediately, and she became not only a mentor but also a friend. Lisa pushed me to think bigger, to challenge the status quo, and to harness my personal experiences into a driving force for success. I often found myself inspired by her insights, and she helped me refine my business model, making it more appealing to potential clients. In the midst of all this, I received another text from Sarah, this time more desperate. "Please, Mike, I can't lose you. I'll do anything to fix this. I'll go to counseling, just please give me another chance. My immediate instinct was to ignore it. I had built a life that didn't include her, and I refused to let her back in. But I couldn't help but feel a tinge of guilt. I had once vowed to stand by her through thick and thin, but now I realized her actions had changed everything. I was no longer the man whose heart she could easily manipulate. As I texted her back, I knew I had to be strong. Sarah, you had your chance. I'm moving on. Goodbye. Hitting send felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. I was done with the past and I was ready to embrace the future. With each passing day, my startup continued to grow, and I felt a sense of pride in what I was building. I'd learned to thrive without betrayal, to innovate and create something meaningful on my own. No longer was I defined by my marriage or her actions. I was Mike, an entrepreneur, a man who refused to be a victim of circumstance. The bitter taste of betrayal had transformed into the sweet nectar of determination, and I was on my way to proving that innovation could indeed thrive without her. As my startup began to gain traction, I found myself in a whirlwind of meetings, pitches, and networking events. The momentum was exhilarating, and I was filled with newfound confidence. Every successful pitch was a small victory, a reminder of how far I had come since the dark days of my marriage. I felt alive for the first time in ages, standing on my own 2 feet, ready to take on the world. With each passing week, I kept Sarah at arm's length. She would occasionally reach out, sending messages filled with apologies and promises to change. I'd respond politely but firmly, making it clear that I had moved on. I no longer craved her affection or validation. I had found a sense of purpose and fulfillment in my work that I hadn't known before. Each time she reached out, I felt a twinge of sadness, not for her, but for the life we had once planned together. The future I envisioned with her was now a distant memory, replaced by new dreams and aspirations. Then came the fateful day when everything changed. I was preparing for a significant pitch to a group of investors who had shown interest in my startup. This was going to be a game changer. I had spent countless hours perfecting my presentation, pouring my heart and soul into every detail. I was nervous but determined to impress them. As I was setting up in the conference room, I caught sight of someone out of the corner of my eye. It was Sarah. She was standing in the doorway looking disheveled and anxious. My heart raced, a mix of surprise and anger, flooding my senses. "What are you doing here?" I snapped, my voice sharper than I intended. "I just wanted to talk. Can we please have a moment?" She pleaded, her eyes wide with desperation. I felt my anger rise again, but I also noticed the vulnerability in her voice. It was a side she rarely showed, and it caught me off guard. "Now, you chose the moment before I'm about to pitch to a room full of investors to come here," I retorted, my frustration palpable. "This isn't the time or place, Sarah. Please just give me a minute. I know I've messed up, but I need you to understand how serious I am about changing things between us," she said, stepping closer. I hesitated for a moment, looking into her eyes, searching for the sincerity I desperately wanted to believe in. I sighed, torn between my anger and the lingering love I felt. "Fine, but make it quick," I said, crossing my arms and trying to maintain my composure. She took a deep breath, her voice shaking slightly. "I've been going to therapy and I'm working on myself. I realize how much I hurt you and I want to do better. I miss you, Mike. I want us back." Her words hit me like a freight train. I wanted to believe her, but every fiber of my being screamed caution. "You think a few therapy sessions are going to erase the betrayal? You broke my trust in the worst way possible, Sarah. I can't just forget that." I know it's a lot to ask," she cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But I love you. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild our marriage. Just give me a chance." I inhaled deeply, battling the conflicting emotions swirling within me. Part of me desperately wanted to comfort her, to reach out and hold her like I used to. But another part of me remembered the pain, the disillusionment. I had been healing and I wasn't ready to throw that all away. "Look, I have a meeting in less than 5 minutes," I said, glancing around the room to see if anyone had noticed her. "I can't do this right now. I need to focus on my pitch." "Please, Mike," she pleaded, her voice breaking, "I'm begging you, just think about it. You can't just walk away from everything we built together." That statement struck a nerve. The memories of our early relationship flooded back, our wedding, the dreams we had shared, the laughter and the love. But alongside those memories were the crushing weight of betrayal. I had built a new life for myself, one that didn't include the pain and heartache she had caused. I'm not walking away from everything, Sarah. I'm building something new. Something that doesn't involve you, I said resolutely. I have to go now. I'm sorry, but this is where we part ways. With that, I turned away from her, not wanting to see the heartbreak in her eyes. I felt a mix of relief and guilt as I walked toward the conference room. My heart pounded in my chest, but I knew I had made the right decision. I couldn't let her back into my life, not now, not ever. As I stood in front of the investors, I took a moment to collect my thoughts. I could still feel Sarah's presence lingering in the air, but I couldn't let that distract me. I launched into my pitch, pouring my passion and conviction into every word. The investors leaned in, their interest piqued as I described my vision and the potential for growth within my startup. I could feel the excitement building in the room, and with each passing moment, I knew I was reclaiming my power. The meeting concluded with enthusiastic applause, and the investors expressed their interest in moving forward. I left that conference room feeling invincible, a stark contrast to the turmoil I had just faced. I had channeled my pain into something productive, something that would allow me to thrive. As I walked out of the building, my phone buzzed again. It was another message from Sarah, but this time I didn't even want to look. I was done with the past. I was moving forward, ready to embrace the future that lay ahead of me. In that moment, I realized that I had truly turned a corner. I had transformed my heartbreak into determination, and I was finally living for myself again. I was ready to build my dreams without the shadows of betrayal haunting me, and that was a victory worth celebrating. With the successful pitch behind me, I felt as if I had crossed a significant threshold. My startup was gaining traction, and I was surrounded by supportive investors who believed in my vision. Each day brought new challenges, but I was ready to face them head-on. I had turned my pain into a catalyst for growth, and I was determined to keep moving forward. As the weeks went by, I became more immersed in my work. I spent long hours in the office, often losing track of time as I brainstormed new ideas and strategized for the future. I found solace in the rhythm of my daily routine, and I began to build a small team of like-minded individuals who shared my passion for innovation. We collaborated closely, bouncing ideas off one another and pushing each other to think bigger. However, amidst the excitement of building my startup, I couldn't completely shake Sarah from my mind. She continued to text me, sometimes apologizing, sometimes asking for another chance. I had initially thought that ignoring her would be the best approach, but it weighed heavily on my conscience. Part of me wanted to hear her out, to see if there was any sincerity behind her words, but I had to remind myself of the damage she had done. One night as I was leaving the office, I received a call from Lisa, my investor and mentor. "Hey Mike, how's everything going?" she asked, her voice warm and encouraging. "Really well, actually. We've got a few projects lined up and I'm feeling optimistic," I replied, smiling at her enthusiasm. "I'm glad to hear that. I know things have been a bit tumultuous for you on the personal front. Just remember to take care of yourself too," she advised gently. "I'm trying," I said, feeling a mixture of gratitude and vulnerability. "It's been tough, but I'm focusing on my work and moving forward." "Good. And don't hesitate to lean on your support system. You've got people who care about you," Lisa reminded me. I appreciated her sentiment and felt a flicker of hope. Maybe it was time to lean on my friends and build new relationships. As I hung up, I took a deep breath, allowing myself to think about how much I had grown since the breakup. I realized I was ready to embrace new possibilities, not just in my career but in my personal life as well. A few days later, I found myself at a networking event, surrounded by fellow entrepreneurs. It was refreshing to connect with people who were as passionate about their work as I was. I struck up conversations, sharing ideas and experiences, and I could feel a sense of camaraderie in the room. It was exhilarating. As the night wore on, I met a woman named Jenna. She was a graphic designer and had a sharp sense of humor that instantly caught my attention. We talked for hours, exchanging ideas and laughing until my sides hurt. I felt a spark of attraction that I hadn't experienced in a long time. After a few drinks, we exchanged numbers, and I left the event feeling lighter than I had in months. The following week, Jenna and I went out for coffee. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, and I found myself opening up to her about my experiences, the ups and downs of my journey. She listened intently, offering support and understanding, and I couldn't help but be drawn to her warmth. It felt refreshing to engage with someone who genuinely cared and didn't have the baggage of my past. As our connection deepened, I began to let go of the resentment I felt towards Sarah. I realized that while the betrayal had left scars, it had also paved the way for new beginnings. I was ready to embrace the future without the shadows of my past weighing me down. Jenna brought out a side of me that I had almost forgotten, an optimistic, hopeful version of myself that was excited about life again. But as I began to explore this new relationship, Sarah continued to reach out. One night, as I was preparing for a date with Jenna, I received another text from her. "Mike, I really need to talk. I can't stop thinking about you. Please, let's meet." I hesitated, torn between the life I was building and the lingering ties to my past. I knew meeting her could undo the progress I had made, but part of me felt compelled to hear her out. Perhaps it was time to finally close that chapter for good. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop the following day, determined to approach the conversation with an open mind. When I arrived, I spotted her sitting at a table looking nervous and unsure of herself. As I walked over, I braced myself for the emotional whirlwind that was sure to come. "Thank you for meeting me, Mike," she said softly, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for the right words. "I know I've hurt you, and I'm so sorry for everything. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I realize now how much I took for granted." I nodded, trying to remain calm. "I appreciate you coming, Sarah, but I want to be clear. I'm not here to reignite anything. I'm building a new life for myself." "I know," she replied, her voice trembling, "but I want to take responsibility for my actions. I've been going to therapy and really working on myself. I see now how much my choices have affected you. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope we can at least find some closure." Her vulnerability tugged at my heartstrings. I could see the pain etched on her face, but I also felt a surge of anger at the thought of all the hurt she had caused me. Closure. It's hard to find closure when the wounds are still fresh, Sarah. You broke my trust, and that's not something that can be easily repaired. "I understand," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "But I want you to know I'm not the same person I was. I've been working hard to change my mindset and my behavior. I miss you, and I miss the life we had together." At that moment, I realized that while I could appreciate her desire for change, I had moved on. "I'm happy for you, Sarah. I truly am. But I've found a new path, and I'm excited about where it's leading me. I want you to find your happiness too, but it's not going to be with me." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of our conversation hanging in the air. I could see the realization dawning on her that our time together had come to an end. "I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, Mike. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me one day." "I appreciate your honesty, Sarah," I said, trying to convey as much compassion as possible. "But I think it's best for both of us to part ways completely. We need to find our own paths." As I left the coffee shop, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I had confronted my past and had the courage to move forward with my life. No longer was I bound by the memories of betrayal. Instead, I was embracing the love and excitement of new beginnings. I was ready to forge ahead with Jenna and my startup, fully committed to the life I was building. The air felt lighter as I stepped outside, and I could see the horizon stretching out before me. I had learned to thrive in the wake of betrayal, to rise above the pain and emerge stronger than ever. I was living for myself now, and that was a victory that no one could take away. With Sarah's departure from my life finally behind me, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The conversation we had at the coffee shop had given me the closure I needed, and for the first time in a long while, I felt truly free. I was no longer tethered to the past, and I could finally focus on the future I was building. As the weeks went by, my relationship with Jenna blossomed. We spent countless hours together, exploring new places, sharing our dreams and laughing until our sides hurt. She had a vibrant energy that was infectious, and I found myself drawn to her creativity and passion. Jenna supported my entrepreneurial journey, and I could feel a deep connection forming between us. I had opened my heart again, and it felt exhilarating. One evening, after a long day at work, Jenna invited me over for dinner. As I arrived at her apartment, the aroma of spices filled the air and I could hear music playing softly in the background. She greeted me with a warm smile, and I felt a rush of affection for her. We enjoyed a cozy meal together, punctuated by playful banter and easy conversation. After dinner, we settled on the couch, and our legs brushed against each other. It was one of those moments where everything felt right, and I leaned in to kiss her. It was soft and tender, igniting a spark that made my heart race. I could sense the chemistry between us, an undeniable connection that felt both new and familiar. As we pulled away, Jenna looked into my eyes, her expression serious yet gentle. "Mike, I really appreciate how open you've been with me about your past. I know it's been tough for you, and I want you to know that I'm here for you." Her words warmed my heart, and I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. "Thank you, Jenna. You've helped me heal in ways I didn't think were possible. I never expected to find someone like you after everything I've been through." She smiled, her eyes sparkling with understanding. "I believe that everything happens for a reason, and sometimes we need to go through difficult experiences in order to find what truly matters." Her perspective resonated with me. I had learned so much from my past, from the pain of betrayal to the strength I had gained by moving on. I had transformed my heartbreak into motivation, and now I was reaping the rewards. As our relationship deepened, I found myself reflecting on the lessons I had learned throughout this journey. I realized that heartbreak can be a powerful teacher, guiding us towards self-discovery and growth. I had learned, too, prioritize my own happiness, to embrace my passions, and to surround myself with people who uplifted me. I had discovered the importance of setting boundaries and standing firm in my beliefs. With Jenna by my side, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. My startup continued to flourish, and I was grateful for the support from both my investors and my growing team. We were working on innovative projects that had the potential to make a significant impact, and I was excited about the possibilities ahead. As summer approached, we planned a trip together to celebrate our newfound relationship. We chose a cozy cabin in the mountains, away from the hustle and bustle of city life. It felt like the perfect opportunity to unwind, connect, and create lasting memories. The trip was everything I had hoped for. We hiked through breathtaking landscapes, shared intimate conversations by the fire, and laughed until our cheeks hurt. One evening, as we sat under a blanket of stars, I took Jenna's hand and squeezed it gently. "Thank you for being you," I said, my voice sincere. "You've brought so much joy into my life, and I'm excited about what the future holds for us." Her smile illuminated the darkness around us. "I feel the same way, Mike. I think we make a great team." In that moment, I realized how far I had come since the heartbreak I once endured. I had transformed my pain into a catalyst for growth, and I was now standing at the threshold of a new life filled with love, support, and hope. I had chosen to embrace the beauty of new beginnings, leaving behind the shadows of my past. As I looked out at the starry sky, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Life had a way of surprising us, often leading us down paths we never anticipated. I had learned that it was okay to let go, to forgive, and to move forward with an open heart. In the end, I emerged stronger and wiser, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. I was finally living life on my own terms, and I couldn't wait to see where this journey would take me next. Love had a way of finding us when we least expected it, and I was grateful for every lesson learned along the way. I was ready to embrace the future, knowing that innovation truly thrives without betrayal.